Yep, so you read that right. Title of this video is I Blew Up Today. Had a pretty terrible day trading here this morning. Wednesday, March 25th. Where do we start? Let's see. Well, let's start on the ES. The ES was, I think, kind of the beginning of this. It was kind of the beginning of the mess that I kind of got myself into here this morning. Well, let me prefix the video by stating I did increase my position sizing 2 days ago. Well, I pretty much put it into effect yesterday's trading. Had a great day trading yesterday. Brought my monthly P&L up to about $7,000, about $3,000 short of my monthly target, and was eyeing a setup here on the ES. Huge liquidity area, pretty much marked off here in red, and had a nice move into area of liquidity. Got a nice kind of rejection candle. In fact, I didn't enter in on this candle. I entered in on my entry confirmation footprint candle, which was a delta flip. That's how I get into most of my trades. And it was a big one because I got in on the 30 range, which is equivalent to, I don't know, about 8 points. Based on my stop, I think I was starting off that trade 11 or 12 points of stop. Had a pretty big target down here, which I knew needed to get rebalanced. In fact, I had a signal down here at the 66.28. We'll get into that a little bit later. So felt really confident about this short, and at the exact same time looking at the NQ. The NQ is also entering into a very unbalanced seller volume area that I wanted to take a short from. So I let the price action come into my band, got a confirmation candle again on my footprint chart. I got in right down here. I got in for a short, was targeting, I think it was targeting about 40-ish points, 45, 50 points, somewhere in that area. And maybe actually on this trade I wasn't targeting so much because I knew I was also in the ES trade, and I knew I kind of had I had two pretty big positions open at the exact same time. So I'm not sure. I was in the ES trade first. I'm not exactly sure right now where my target was on this one, but I knew I had a lot of unbalanced volume sitting below me on the NQ. And took a real quick loss on the NQ. We came right back in, spiked me out, or I should say wicked me out for a pretty big loss here. Again, I'm on a increased position size. So my typical trade, I would say, is around $1,800. If I'm just scalping for 10, 15 points, it's about $800. Now that my position size is up, my bigger scalps, which are coming off of these unbalanced volume areas, those now equate to almost $2,800 to $3,000 of profit or loss. So I have to accept the fact that there's going to be bigger numbers. That's just the kind of the case of it. It just kind of, the number, once these two trades ended off, kind of just hit me in the face, and I was a little stunned by it. So got knocked out off of this trade, and as well got knocked off on the ES trade for 11 and a quarter points. I took a loss there, and on the NQ took a loss of 38 and a half points. Okay, so all said and done, I was looking at, I'm not even going to talk about the earlier mistake, this little guy right here. Yeah, just, you can watch the video on it. I don't even want to talk about it, but it's just the way it was, the way that the morning kind of worked out. So once these two trades finished off, I was staring a P&L, I believe, of negative $9,000 for the day. That is the biggest negative P&L. Now, mind you, I am trading with 7 funded accounts. So those are a mix of Apex PA accounts, Apex PAs, Tradeify funded accounts. I had 2 of my cash accounts attached to those trades, and it was a big that was a big hit. Okay, all of my PAs were down $920, which it's a dollar amount that I personally haven't seen in a pretty long, well, since I've pretty much started going into micros. It's just a dollar amount that I have not seen in a long time. And it really shell shocked me. For those of you guys that watched the stream, you know, it was something to be seen, I guess. But I stayed composed. I did end up breaking one of my own rules, and it was a rule that I kind of said in, not only to YouTube, maybe I didn't mention it to YouTube, but I know I mentioned it to my Signal members in my Signal service group, that, you know, I was going to be done for the day. I was going to go out and get some lunch, maybe come back and take a look. I know that I have other groups of funded accounts that I can trade, so I could kind of leave that one group that took a huge hit today, which was actually my most profitable group right now, or at the time was my most profitable group. And I could always switch over to another account if I found a really nice setup. And I didn't do that. I continued to look at the charts, and I continued to monitor this unbalanced volume area that I've got clearly marked off every morning in gold, or I should say it is a gold box on my chart. And I got presented a setup that I just could not pass up. So earlier, my loss was from right here, okay? So, and I was saying, okay, we've been consolidating. I gave everybody my opinion. In fact, I think you probably saw a quick snippet of what exactly what I was saying was gonna happen here in the markets. I said that this market was absolutely gonna drop from here. You could see the position sizing that the market was absorbing. It was very easy to see through level 2 book map. Much easier to see on the ES than the NQ, but I already knew once this swept this high once again, we never actually ended up breaking my box. These are the same boxes that I use for my scalping for 10-15 points. I've got always my stop loss at the top of the box, my entries at the bottom of the box, and then I always have my take profit marked off. Well, same scenario here. The only issue is that I don't like to carry on 60 points of risk or 45, depending on where the entry was. Like down here, the entry was way down below the box. So it's just too much. It's too much risk for me to take. So I always put my stop at the top of the footprint candle. Granted, this was not a flip, so this wasn't a perfect entry confirmation for me. That can, you know, that'll play in a little bit later. So as I finished off with my members, and I pretty much said, you know, I'm going to lunch. I'm not going to trade anymore. This setup appears, and I get the perfect entry confirmation, perfect footprint reversal here that I'm always looking for, and I jump into a short here. Now, this is the part of trading that, you know, anybody watching the video that watched my earlier video can say, Rob, that looks like a revenge trade. And yeah, it was not a revenge trade, but it was definitely a trade that broke one of my rules, which I already said I was going to take a break. I was going to go to lunch, maybe come back, take a look at the charts. And before I even had the opportunity to go to lunch, I get presented with this setup. And to me, the setup was perfect. We never broke this box. Even if we were to break this box by a little bit and just kind of sweep the top of it, we get this footprint confirmation. I'm going to take a short there every single time. 10 out of 10 trades, I'm going to take it. And I really didn't feel any hesitation in taking this trade, minus thinking about what my P&L was on my on all of my funded accounts. My cash accounts, that is pretty simple to deal with. You know, you take your wins, your losses. I'm looking at that on a monthly basis. As long as those numbers are continuously going up, perfectly fine with that. But with the funded accounts, you've got trailing drawdown. I'm on all legacy PAs with Apex. So I had a lot of different thoughts in my head, knowing where I was currently sitting in the P&L. But the one thing I did before doing this trade was I did go into, when I was with my signal service group, I pulled up my charts and I started to look at, okay, where's my trailing drawdown? They're all in profit. So I just want to make sure that I'm nowhere near. I said I had about $1,000, I think it was like $1,000 to $1,100 of still trailing drawdown, just still from profits. And I knew I had some wiggle room there. So I figured, all right, I, without hesitation, took the short here. And if I hover over this number, you can see what my what the profits were. What the points were on this short. I rode this NQ short here for 74 points. Okay, and it gets a little better than that because I ended up giving a signal here that ended up working, but I'll get a little bit more into that in a second. I had an unbalanced volume area sitting right here. This is actually where it developed my signal. And that was my target. I figured this was an easy target for me to go after. In fact, it wasn't an unbalanced volume area. I'm sorry. It was a delta area where buyers were starting to show strength. So I was just going to target there. And I knew that I had even a bigger unbalanced volume area sitting below here. So at one point, I did contemplate even moving my stop down a little bit lower. When I kind of started doing the math on there, it was going to be about 124, 125 point move. Be honest with you, I don't remember me ever taking that big of a trade on the NQ. Didn't really want to get greedy, knew already where my position was for the day, and ended up just waiting for my TP to get hit here at the 74 points. That trade ended up helping me obviously tremendously with my P&L, which you can obviously see up on my screen. Ended up taking another short, put a signal to my signal group. Let me go back into this chart because it's a little easier to see. Let's see the NQ. Right here, this is, where is it at? Where'd it go? Right here. So I gave my signal, I don't know, somewhere around here. It was right before I went to lunch, so it was around 11 o'clock, 11:15. Price action comes, taps right into my entry, and TP1, TP2 was hit on the signal. I personally did not take this trade because, and got a little unlucky on this one, but did not like this previous sweep of the unbalanced volume that I knew was sitting at this entry right here. So I ended up taking this trade off, which again, in hindsight, really sucked because that would have probably got my P&L down to about negative $1,500 for the day, which again, even at the 3,000 that I'm down right now, it's just 1 hour. It's not the end of the world for me. At the time when I first took the trade, you know, typically I'm not taking I would not take 3 losers, you know, in a row on those bigger unbalanced volume trades. It just happened that the ES and the NQ ended up setting up perfectly. I really felt like I knew where the market wanted to go. I just really honestly didn't have enough bullets to sustain the drawdown and then to ultimately see all my targets finally get hit. So I ended up having to take the loss when I took the loss. It's about capital preservation at that point. And, you know, yes, I broke a rule over here taking this trade. Not a rule. It wasn't a written rule. It was just a rule that I had said, I'm just going to go to lunch. I'm going to take the, you know, I'm going to just take my eyes off the chart for a little bit. Well, I didn't do that. So that's the part that goes in my journal. As far as the trade, I thought the setup was perfect and it was part of my original plan. I just wish, obviously, I didn't get stuck in all of this chop for it to make the final move. So with that being said, the accounts were not blown, but took a huge, I kind of, I don't know, I kind of in a way kind of felt like I needed it. I think the biggest loss that I had from starting the channel in November was probably $3,600. I've obviously had many wins in the plus 3,000. So, but the $9,000 number that I saw on the screen, it was kind of a little bit of a shocker to me. It was a little surprising, but I also think it's a process of you increase position size, you know, you're going to have to start getting used to some bigger numbers, obviously. And as long as the bigger numbers are in profit more than they are in loss, you're doing all right. So with that being said, hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow on the live stream. Take care.